November 20th, 1943. Dawn creeps over Bedio Island, Tarawa Atoll, painting the Pacific sky in streaks of fire. The air is thick with the stench of gunpowder and salt, the coral sands stained red with the blood of Marines. On Red Beach, too, amidst shattered palm trees and smoldering bunkers, Corporal Daniel Hayes kneels beside his M1919A4 Browning machine gun. His hands, steady despite the chaos, check the 250-round cloth belt feeding the air-cooled beast perched on its tripod. Around him, his squad moves with grim precision. Other Marine gunners clean barrels, load belts, and brace for what's coming. The ground shakes. A low, guttural roar rises through the morning mist, a sound that will echo in the nightmares of survivors. Hundreds of Japanese soldiers, their bayonets gleaming, charge in a desperate banzai assault. The chatter of their Type 92 machine guns, nicknamed woodpeckers, for their slow, deliberate rhythm, cuts through the haze. But it's no match for the relentless roar of the American M1919s, which unleash a storm of lead that will prove why the Browning defined modern warfare while the Type 92 faltered. This is the story of two machine guns, one a triumph of American ingenuity, the other a relic of Japan's missteps, and how they shaped the Pacific War. The M1919 Browning was a masterpiece of practical design, born from the genius of John Moses Browning, the legendary firearms innovator. Evolving from the water-cooled M1917 used in World War I, the M1919A4 was lighter, air-cooled, and built for the brutal realities of modern combat. At 31 pounds with a 14-pound tripod, it was a two-man weapon that could be carried across coral reefs or dense jungles. Its .30-06 Springfield rounds, each 150-grain bullet screaming at 800 feet per second, could tear through enemy lines at ranges over 500 yards. Firing at 400 to 600 rounds per minute, the M1919 delivered a continuous wall of fire from its 250-round cloth belts, which could be linked for near-endless barrages. Its design embraced simplicity and reliability. Loose tolerances meant it could shrug off sand, mud, or jungle grime. A Marine with a week's training could strip and reassemble it in minutes, and it rarely failed, even after thousands of rounds. By 1943, American factories like General Motors' Saginaw Division, Buffalo Arms, and Rock Island Arsenal had churned out over 350 M1919s, ensuring every Marine company and Army battalion had firepower to dominate any battlefield. In stark contrast stood Japan's Type 92 heavy machine gun, a weapon burdened by ambition and flawed execution. Introduced in 1932, Japanese Imperial Year 2592, the Type 92 was a gas-operated, air-cooled design based on the French Hotchkiss. Firing 7.7mm semi-rimmed rounds at 450 rounds per minute, it aimed to modernize Japan's arsenal. But its flaws were glaring. At 122 pounds with its tripod, it was nearly 3 times heavier than the M1919, requiring a full squad to move. Its 30-round metal feed strips crippled sustained fire. Gunners spent more time reloading than shooting. Worse, an internal oil pump lubricated each cartridge to aid extraction, but in the Pacific's jungles, this oil attracted dirt and coral dust, causing catastrophic jams. The Type 92's precision-crafted parts, while impressive in peacetime, seized up in combat conditions. Its offset sights and fragile feed strips further hampered effectiveness. Japan produced just 45,000 Type 92s from 1932 to 1945, with manufacturers like Hitachi and Tokyo Gas and Electric prioritizing craftsmanship over mass production, leaving their forces critically under-equipped. The clash of these weapons at Tarawa in November 1943 was a brutal demonstration of their differences. As Japanese forces launched their dawn counterattack, their Type 92 crews struggled to keep up. The woodpecker's slow, staccato bursts, 30 rounds pause, reload, couldn't match the M1919's relentless streams. Corporal Hayes and his crew, dug in near Red Beach 2, poured fire into the charging enemy. Their M1919 chewed through 2,000 rounds in minutes, the barrel glowing red but never faltering. Marines doused it with canteen water to keep it cool, wiped sand from the belts, and kept firing. Across the beach, Japanese Type 92s jammed repeatedly, their oil-soaked mechanisms choked with coral dust. One Marine later recalled, "Their guns would sputter, then go silent. That's when we'd advance. Our Brownings never stopped." This wasn't just about design, it was about industrial might. America's production of the M1919 was a marvel of efficiency. General Motors applied automotive assembly line techniques, with Saginaw alone producing 10,000 units a month by 1943. Parts were interchangeable across manufacturers, so a Buffalo Arms barrel fit perfectly on a Saginaw gun. This standardization meant field repairs were quick, even under fire. Ammunition was equally prolific. Over 10 billion .30-06 rounds were produced annually, shipped in moisture-proof containers that defied the Pacific's humidity. Innovations like armor-piercing, tracer, and incendiary rounds gave M1919 crews unmatched versatility, shredding bunkers, aircraft, and infantry alike. Japan's Type 92 production, by contrast, was a study in inefficiency. Each gun required hand-fitted parts, making repairs a nightmare. As the war dragged on, Japan's dwindling resources led to corner cutting. Late-war Type 92s had rough machining, brittle cast-iron parts, and unreliable oil pumps. Ammunition was another bottleneck. The 7.7mm rounds came in multiple incompatible variants, and the fragile feed strips rusted or bent easily. By 1944, Japan's factories couldn't keep up, and American submarines and B-29s choked their supply lines. A captured Japanese officer's diary from Saipan lamented, "Our machine guns fire 30 rounds, then stop. The Americans fire forever. We cannot match their bullets." The Battle of Guadalcanal in 1942 had already hinted at this disparity. During the desperate night of October 24 to 25, Marine M1919 crews proved their worth. When Japanese forces attacked Henderson Field, the air-cooled Brownings were mobile reserves, rushed to plug gaps in the line. Private Robert Leckie, a machine gunner, later wrote, "Our 30 cali's were light enough to carry, tough enough to fire through mud and rain. We'd set up, fire a belt, and move before their mortars could find us." The Type 92s, immobile and jam-prone, were easy targets. Their crews fought bravely but were outgunned, their positions silenced by the M1919's relentless fire. By the time of Saipan in July 1944, the M1919's dominance was undeniable. During the massive Banzai Charge on July 7, over 4,000 Japanese soldiers stormed American lines. M1919 crews from the 27th Infantry Division created a kill zone, firing for hours without pause. Sergeant Michael O'Connor's team burned through 20,000 rounds, swapping barrels in seconds to keep the guns roaring. "The Japs came in waves," he recalled. "Our Brownings cut them down like wheat. Their woodpeckers couldn't keep up, 30 rounds and they were done." The Type 92's slow reloads left Japanese gunners exposed, their positions overrun as M1919s maintained unrelenting pressure. On Peleliu in September 1944, the M1919 thrived in hellish conditions, 115-degree heat, coral dust, and relentless combat. Marines reported Type 92s seizing up as their precision parts expanded in the heat, while M1919s kept firing. Corporal John Tatum said, "Their guns would choke after a few strips. Ours just sang. We knew we owned the battlefield." In urban combat at Manila in 1945, the M1919's 45-pound portability shone. Teams moved it from building to building, firing from windows and rooftops. The Type 92, too heavy to relocate quickly, became a sitting duck for American mortars and grenades. The M1919's roots lay in World War I lessons, refined through years of testing. The Army Ordnance Department spent 2 decades perfecting it, incorporating marine feedback to strengthen barrels and simplify feeds. The .30-06 cartridge, standardized in 1906, balanced power and reliability, proven in combat from France to the Pacific. Japan's Type 92, however, was a misstep. Built on an outdated Hotchkiss design, it prioritized precision over practicality. Its oil pump, meant to solve extraction issues, was a liability in the jungle. Japanese doctrine, rooted in samurai traditions, valued marksmanship over volume, training Type 92 crews for precise bursts rather than suppressive fire. This worked against lightly armed Chinese forces in the 1930s but failed against America's industrial firepower. The psychological toll was immense. The M1919's endless chatter, nicknamed Hitler's Zipper by Japanese soldiers, crushed morale. A captured training manual from 1944 admitted, "American machine guns create an unbreakable wall of fire. Our Type 92s must rely on stealth and close combat to compete." But closing the distance was suicide against M1919 kill zones. American gunners, confident in their weapons, held ground against banzai charges, knowing their Brownings wouldn't fail. Japanese soldiers, aware of their Type 92's limits, resorted to desperate tactics, sacrificing lives in futile assaults. Okinawa in 1945 was the final proof. M1919 crews, honed by years of combat, created interlocking fields of fire that decimated Japanese attacks. During the May 4th counteroffensive, Staff Sergeant Henry Walsh's team fired 25,000 rounds in a single night, wearing out 5 barrels but never stopping. "We were a machine," Walsh said. "Feed the belt, fire, swap barrels, repeat." The Japs couldn't get close. Type 92s, meanwhile, faltered in Okinawa's caves and mud. Captured guns were often found jammed, surrounded by broken feed strips. Of 200 Type 92s taken on Okinawa, only 10 worked. The rest were abandoned, their crews overwhelmed by American firepower. The numbers tell the story: 390,000 M1919s versus 45,000 Type 92s. America's industrial juggernaut, fueled by auto industry techniques, interchangeable parts, and limitless ammunition, ensured every squad had reliable firepower. Japan's artisan approach, with handcrafted guns and scarce supplies, couldn't keep pace. The M1919 became a symbol of American might, serving through Korea and Vietnam, its design influencing modern machine guns. The Type 92, a footnote, was respected only for the courage of its crews, who fought bravely despite their weapons' flaws. In the end, the Pacific War was won not just by bravery, both sides had that, but by industrial power and practical design. The M1919 Browning, with its relentless fire and rugged simplicity, embodied America's ability to turn engineering into victory. The Type 92, weighed down by complexity and outdated ideals, reflected Japan's struggle to match modern warfare's demands. On beaches like Tarawa, in jungles like Guadalcanal, and in caves like Okinawa, the M1919's roar wrote history, proving that in war, firepower is king.